Dear friends, today we will address a delicate but extremely important subject for your quality of life and emotional well-being. If you are over 60, you need to understand how certain relationships can profoundly impact your mental and physical health during this special stage of life. Studies conducted by Harvard University show that the quality of relationships is one of the most determining factors for healthy and happy aging. In fact, people who maintain positive social connections live, on average, 7 years longer than those exposed to toxic relationships. But have you ever stopped to think that, sometimes, those who affect us most negatively are precisely the people closest to us? Yes, they can be family members, longtime friends, or even neighbors we have known for decades. And interestingly, research from the U.S. National Institute on Aging reveals that 65% of older adults face some form of harmful relationship within their own family circle. Today, I will share with you a crucial discovery: identifying and setting boundaries with 5 specific types of people can make all the difference in your life. And no, this is not selfishness. It is an act of self-love supported by science. The Stanford University Center on Aging studies found that older adults who learn to set boundaries in their relationships have significantly lower levels of anxiety and depression. Let me tell you something many people do not dare to say. You do not have to maintain relationships that drain your energy just because it has always been that way or because it's family. Your peace of mind and emotional well-being are absolute priorities at this stage of life. In the next sections, I will detail each of these 5 profiles you need to identify and how to deal with them wisely and balanced. I will teach you practical strategies, based on scientific studies, to protect your emotional health without creating unnecessary conflicts. Let's begin our journey by talking about one of the most harmful profiles for your emotional health: the manipulator. This is the kind of person who knows exactly how to press your buttons, especially by using your kindness and sense of responsibility against you. According to the U.S. National Institute of Mental Health, people over 60 are particularly vulnerable to emotional manipulation, especially when it comes from close family members. Imagine the following situation. Your son or daughter constantly asks for financial help for emergencies, making you feel guilty if you cannot assist. Or perhaps a relative who always creates drama and crises just when you are about to do something important for your own well-being. Recognize this pattern? Research from the University of Michigan reveals that 42% of older adults have sacrificed their own financial stability or well-being to meet manipulative family demands. Thompson, a specialist in geriatric psychology, explains that prolonged exposure to emotional manipulators can cause serious health problems. Chronic stress generated by these relationships increases cortisol levels in the body, potentially triggering or worsening conditions such as hypertension, heart problems, and even accelerating cognitive decline. The warning signs are clear. If you often feel guilty, anxious, or exhausted after interacting with someone, notice that your savings are constantly being drained for others' emergencies, or find that your self-care routine is always being interrupted by this person's demands, you are likely dealing with an emotional manipulator. But here's the most important part: you have the right and the responsibility to set boundaries. A recent study by the Healthy Aging Research Center showed that older adults who learned to say no to manipulative demands experienced a 60% improvement in their anxiety levels and a significant increase in their quality of life in just 3 months. How to protect yourself? First, learn to recognize the most common tactics. Emotional blackmail: if you really loved me. Constant victimization: nobody helps me, only you can. And creating false emergencies. Dr. Sarah Bennett, a specialist in family relationships, suggests a simple but effective technique. Before responding to any request or demand, say that you need 24 hours to think about it. This pause breaks the cycle of immediate manipulation and allows you to make more conscious decisions. Remember, setting boundaries does not mean completely cutting ties. It means creating a healthy space where you can better manage these interactions. You can start with small steps, such as setting specific times to answer phone calls, establishing clear limits for financial help, or simply learning to say no without feeling guilty. Most importantly, take care of your mental health. The Center for Aging Studies has proven that older adults who participate in support groups or therapy develop greater resilience to emotional manipulation and maintain healthier levels of blood pressure and other health markers. Your peace of mind is non-negotiable, and protecting it is a fundamental act of self-care. Now let's talk about a type of person who can be particularly harmful to your emotional well-being in your golden years: the narcissist. According to studies from the Boston University Center for Aging Research, living with a narcissist can significantly reduce your quality of life and even impact your physical health. A narcissist is someone who turns every conversation into a monologue about themselves. You try to share your experiences, health concerns, or even a joy, and suddenly realize the conversation has completely shifted direction. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, a specialist in aging psychology, warns that this behavior pattern can lead older adults into dangerous social isolation. Imagine the following situation. You're trying to share your concern about an important medical exam, but your son or daughter immediately starts talking about their own problems, minimizing your anxiety. Or perhaps you want to celebrate an achievement, like starting a new physical activity, but a family member always finds a way to diminish your accomplishment by comparing it to their own. Research from the National Institute of Mental Health reveals that older adults who regularly interact with narcissists have a 45% higher risk of developing symptoms of depression. Dr. Richard Thompson explains that this happens because the narcissist constantly invalidates your experiences and emotions, causing you to question your own feelings and perceptions, a phenomenon known as gaslighting. The signs are clear. If you often feel invisible or undervalued after interacting with someone, if your achievements are constantly minimized, or if you notice you never have space to express your own needs and feelings, you are likely dealing with a narcissist. Here's an important fact. According to the Center for Aging Studies, 35% of older adults report having at least one family member with significant narcissistic traits. How can you protect your mental health in these situations? Dr. Sarah Collins, a specialist in behavioral geriatrics, suggests a technique called selective emotional boundary. Instead of trying to change the narcissist's behavior, which rarely works, you learn to choose which aspects of your life to share with this person. This strategy has been shown to reduce stress levels by 60% in older adults living with narcissists. Remember, you have the right to be heard and valued. A Stanford University study demonstrated that older adults who manage to set boundaries with narcissists and seek other sources of emotional support have lower blood pressure and improved immune function. Your life experiences, feelings, and needs are valid and important. Build an alternative support network. Participate in social groups, maintain independent friendships, and seek activities that value your experience and wisdom. The Center for Active Aging Research. Research has proven that older adults who maintain multiple sources of social support are more resilient to the negative effects of narcissistic relationships. Now let's talk about a type of person who can profoundly affect your self-esteem and well-being in your later years: the constant critic. According to studies from the Center for Healthy Aging Studies, constant exposure to criticism can accelerate the aging process and significantly compromise your physical and mental health. The data is alarming. Older adults exposed to frequent criticism have a 65% higher risk of developing cardiovascular problems. The constant critic is the person who always has something negative to point out. You decide to start a light physical activity? They question if you're too old for that. You choose to learn something new? A discouraging comment follows. You decide to change your diet to something healthier? Here come the criticisms about your choices. Dr. Elizabeth Parker, a specialist in aging psychology, warns that this type of constant negativity can elevate cortisol levels by up to 40%, affecting your immune system and increasing the risk of chronic illnesses. What many people don't realize is that constant criticism can have devastating effects on your metabolism. Dr. Robert Anderson, an endocrinologist specializing in aging, explains that the stress caused by frequent criticism can interfere with serotonin production, the neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of well-being. This explains why many older adults develop changes in appetite and sleep after prolonged exposure to excessively critical individuals. Imagine this situation. You're excited to share that you've started dance classes or decided to take a computer course, and someone close to you immediately begins listing all the reasons why you shouldn't or won't succeed. The U.S. National Institute of Mental Health reveals that 67% of older adults have given up beneficial activities for their health due to constant criticism from family or close friends. Even more concerning, 43% have developed symptoms of anxiety due to this behavior. Dr. James Wilson, a specialist in behavioral geriatrics, explains that the impact of constant criticism goes far beyond emotional aspects. Studies show that individuals exposed to frequent criticism exhibit significant increases in blood pressure, especially during interactions with the critic. Sleep pattern changes, including difficulty falling asleep and non-restorative sleep. Decreased appetite and digestive issues. Reduced willingness for social activities and progressive isolation. Higher likelihood of developing anxiety and depression symptoms. Compromised immune systems, making them more susceptible to infections. But here's an important discovery. Researchers at Stanford University have developed a protocol called active emotional protection to help neutralize the negative effects of constant criticism. The method consists of 3 steps. Recognition. Identify the critical pattern as soon as it starts. The sooner you notice, the easier it is to protect yourself. Conscious breathing ***. When receiving criticism, take 3 deep breaths before responding. This reduces cortisol production and helps maintain calm. Assertive response. Use phrases like, "I appreciate your concern, but this decision is important to me," or "I understand your perspective, but I trust my choice." Dr. Sarah Collins adds that it's essential to develop what she calls a wisdom shield. This concept involves strengthening your self-confidence by recognizing your own achievements and life experiences. When your self-esteem is strong, criticism has less impact on your emotional well-being. Now let's address a profile that can cause serious impacts on your health and financial well-being after age 60. The irresponsible individual. According to the Stanford University Center for Aging Studies, living with irresponsible people can increase the risk of heart problems in older adults by 70% due to the constant stress these relationships generate. This is an alarming fact that we cannot ignore, especially considering the direct impact on our quality of life. The irresponsible individual is someone who seems to live in perpetual chaos, constantly creating emergencies that ultimately become your problems. Dr. Margaret Wilson, a specialist in geriatric medicine, explains that the stress generated by these ongoing situations can trigger a cascade of health issues. When an older adult is continually putting out fires caused by others, their nervous system remains in a state of constant alert, which can raise blood pressure, disrupt sleep, and compromise the immune system. Recent research from the National Institute of Health reveals a concerning scenario about the impact of these relationships on our health. The data shows that older adults living with irresponsible family members frequently develop serious health problems. Chronic stress from these situations can accelerate cognitive decline and significantly increase the risk of depression, as explained by Dr. Robert Thompson, a specialist in neurology and aging. The pattern is always the same, and you likely recognize it. Unpaid bills that become your responsibility, work problems that lead to constant requests for financial assistance, or tumultuous relationships demanding your time and energy for mediation. Worse yet, studies from Boston University reveal that the vast majority of older adults who lend money to irresponsible family members never recover those funds, jeopardizing their own financial security during retirement. However, there's an important discovery that could change your life. The Active Aging Research Center has developed a protocol called Protection Boundaries, which has helped thousands of older adults deal with irresponsible individuals without compromising their health. This revolutionary method begins with establishing clear boundaries in your relationships. You need to define exactly how much you can assist financially without jeopardizing your well-being and set specific times to address demands, protecting your sleep and routine. Dr. Sarah Bennett, a specialist in aging psychology, emphasizes the importance of recognizing that helping doesn't mean solving every problem. Allowing irresponsible people to face the consequences of their choices is not abandonment. It's a form of love that fosters growth. This shift in perspective can significantly reduce your stress levels and improve your quality of life. Studies from the Elderly Health Research Center show extraordinary results when boundaries are appropriately implemented. Older adults who manage to make these changes experience significant reductions in anxiety levels, improved sleep quality, and noticeable decreases in blood pressure. Additionally, they report greater financial stability and, surprisingly, long-term improvements in family relationships. It's crucial to understand that protecting your health and financial well-being is not selfish. In fact, it's an essential act of self-love to maintain your independence and quality of life. Dr. Michael Stevens, a geriatric specialist, highlights that preserving your physical and emotional health is the best way to continue being a positive support for your family without becoming a victim of chaotic situations created by irresponsible individuals. Now we arrive at a profile that can have a subtle but profoundly devastating impact on your emotional health: the ungrateful person. Recent studies from Harvard University's Center for Aging Studies reveal that constant exposure to ingratitude can have effects on the body as harmful as chronic stress. Scientists have found that people over the age of 60 who regularly interact with ungrateful individuals show elevated levels of inflammatory markers in their blood, the same markers found in prolonged stress conditions. The ungrateful person is someone seemingly incapable of recognizing or appreciating any effort you make. No matter how much time, energy, or resources you dedicate, it's never enough. Dr. Emily Richardson, a neuroscientist specializing in aging, explains that this behavior pattern can trigger a series of harmful physiological responses in our body. When we feel consistently undervalued, our bodies produce excess cortisol, stress hormone, which, at elevated levels, can compromise immunity and increase the risk of various diseases. The impact of ingratitude extends far beyond the present moment. Dr. Thomas Anderson, a specialist in geriatric psychology, conducted a revealing 5-year study involving 1,500 older adults. The results showed that those frequently exposed to ungrateful individuals were 3 times more likely to develop symptoms of depression and experienced accelerated memory decline. The constant lack of acknowledgement can make a person question their value and purpose, profoundly affecting mental health, explains the expert. It's essential to understand that chronic ingratitude can manifest in various ways in daily life. It may be a child who never acknowledges financial sacrifices, a family member who takes your time and care for granted, or someone who consistently minimizes your contributions. The Active Aging Research Center found that 62% of older adults had experienced sleep problems, appetite changes, and anxiety symptoms due to living with perpetually ungrateful individuals. But there's encouraging news. Dr. Sarah Collins, a specialist in behavioral medicine, developed a technique called self-love anchoring that has helped thousands of older adults protect their emotional health. This method involves recognizing your worth independently of external validation. When practiced daily, it strengthens emotional resilience and significantly reduces the impact of ingratitude on health. 45 The National Institute of Mental Health discovered that older adults who learn to establish healthy boundaries with ungrateful individuals and cultivate relationships with more appreciative people experience remarkable health improvements. They report more stable blood pressure, better sleep quality, and lower anxiety levels. Additionally, their immune systems are strengthened, making them more resistant to common illnesses. It's essential to understand that you don't need to continue in a cycle of giving without receiving recognition. Dr. Margaret Wilson emphasizes that it's possible to redirect energy toward more nurturing and rewarding relationships. When we allow ourselves to set boundaries with ungrateful individuals, we create space for more meaningful and healthy connections in our lives, explains the expert. This shift can completely transform your aging experience, enabling you to enjoy a fuller and more satisfying life. Remember, your generosity and dedication hold value, regardless of external recognition. Dr. Robert Thompson stresses that protecting your emotional health is not selfish but a fundamental necessity for healthy and happy aging. By acknowledging your efforts and contributions, you strengthen your self-esteem and establish a solid foundation for more balanced and rewarding relationships. We've reached the end of our journey of discoveries on protecting emotional health and well-being in later life. The knowledge shared today has the potential to profoundly transform your quality of life. Recent research from the Active Aging Studies Center shows that older adults who manage to establish healthy boundaries in their relationships live an average of 7.5 years longer, with significantly higher levels of satisfaction and vitality. Dr. Michael Thompson, a renowned geriatric specialist, emphasizes that it's never too late to make positive changes in our relationships. His longitudinal study of over 2,000 older adults revealed that even small adjustments in how we deal with toxic people can bring impressive health benefits. In just 3 months of implementing healthy boundaries, participants reported a 45% reduction in anxiety levels and significant improvements in sleep quality. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. The National Institute of Mental Health found that 7 in 10 older adults face similar challenges in their family relationships. The difference lies in how we choose to handle these situations. Dr. Sarah Bennett developed a technique called the protection circle, which has helped thousands of people strengthen their emotional health. The method involves 3 fundamental steps: recognizing warning signs, establishing clear boundaries, and cultivating nurturing relationships. It's fascinating how our bodies respond positively when we free ourselves from toxic relationships. Dr. Robert Anderson's team documented remarkable changes in biological stress markers after 6 months of practicing healthy boundaries. Reduced blood pressure, improved immune function, and even reversal of mild to moderate depression symptoms. You have the power to choose who is part of your closest circle. Dr. Elizabeth Parker emphasizes that setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting ties completely but rather creating a safe space where you can thrive and maintain your vitality. Her studies show that older adults who learn to protect their emotional energy are 60% less likely to develop stress-related heart problems. Now is the time to put everything we've learned into practice. Start by observing your relationships and identifying which ones need adjustments. Remember, every small change counts. The Healthy Aging Research Center proved that even subtle changes in how we respond to toxic people can significantly impact our long-term health. The most important message I want to leave with you is this: taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is a fundamental need for healthy and happy aging. You deserve to live your golden years with peace, joy, and vitality. And it starts with conscious choices about who we allow to be part of our journey. Before we part ways, I'd like to extend a special invitation. Share your experiences in the comments. How have you been dealing with challenging relationships in your life? What strategies have worked for you? Your story could inspire and help others going through similar situations. If you enjoyed this content and want to keep learning about how to maintain your health and well-being in later life, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Best Age channel. Your support helps us continue bringing valuable information about health and longevity to you. See you in the next health and longevity tip. Each new day is an opportunity to cultivate healthier and more nurturing relationships. You have the power to transform your life one small step at a time.